The alien queen questioned her guardian, and she chose a human. The palace floated silently above the violet gas giant, its towers glinting with metallic hues that shifted in the strange, swirling light of the planet below. From this height, the galaxy seemed quiet, calm, as if it were waiting for something to happen. The alien queen sat on her throne, a massive structure of crystal and metal that reflected the faint starlight from beyond the atmosphere. Her eyes were like liquid silver, sharp and calculating, scanning the vast hall before her. She was ancient, older than most civilizations she governed, yet her presence carried the weight of authority that few could challenge. The current guardian, Vaer, an alien of towering stature and intricate armor, knelt at her side. His scales shimmered like oil in sunlight, and his eyes held centuries of knowledge and caution. He had served the queen for more than 400 cycles, guiding her, protecting her, and advising her in matters that often required wisdom no ordinary being could possess. "My queen," Vaer said, his voice a low rumble that echoed through the throne room, "the candidates we have gathered are among the most skilled beings in the galaxy. Each one possesses abilities that surpass almost any other. But I have seen a change in the currents of life. There is a species rising that even I cannot fully predict, the humans." The queen tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "Humans," she said, her voice soft but commanding, "small, fragile, and unremarkable in physical form." "What makes you speak of them as a concern, guardian?" Vaer's eyes narrowed. "It is not concern in the sense of danger, my queen. It is curiosity. Humans are unpredictable. They survive against odds that no other species would withstand. They make choices that defy logic, and yet somehow they endure. I have observed their actions in minor conflicts, and each time I am reminded that we cannot control or fully anticipate them. They do not follow patterns, and that is unusual for any species at this stage of development." The queen leaned forward slightly, her silver eyes reflecting a faint light. "Unpredictable, you say?" She paused, letting the word hang in the air. "I have always valued loyalty, strength, intelligence, and strategy in a guardian. But unpredictability, it is not a quality we have ever considered essential. Why bring it to my attention now?" Vaer hesitated, aware that questioning the queen was dangerous, even for someone of his stature. "Because, my queen, the galaxy is changing. Our methods, our rules, may no longer be enough to protect your empire. Humans, they could be either a threat or an asset. Their unpredictability may allow them to succeed where the strongest, most disciplined beings would fail." The queen sat back, her long fingers brushing lightly against the crystal armrest of her throne. "Show me this human," she said finally, her voice deliberate. "I wish to see this creature for myself." Vaer's brow furrowed. "It is not customary, my queen. Humans are not considered for this honor. Their bodies are weak compared to even the weakest of our candidates. Their minds are limited in scope when it comes to interstellar strategies. They are ordinary." The queen's silver eyes glinted with curiosity. "Ordinary, perhaps, but if they endure, adapt, and think differently, perhaps they are more than ordinary. I want to see the human, guardian. Bring them to me." Vaer bowed deeply, the sound of his armor clinking echoing through the hall. "As you wish, my queen, but I warn you their unpredictability could be dangerous. They may not understand the responsibilities, the risks. This is not a path we normally take." "Do not worry, guardian," the queen replied calmly. "I am not afraid of risk. Bring the human, let me decide for myself." A small, sleek human ship approached the palace, contrasting sharply with the massive alien vessels that usually patrolled the orbit of the gas giant. The ship was not armored like the warships of other species, nor did it possess the silent elegance of alien stealth crafts. It was simple, functional, and undeniably human. Captain Elias Wren piloted the vessel, his hands steady on the controls as he navigated through the energy shields protecting the palace. Elias was no stranger to danger. He had led human missions across hostile star systems, faced unknown alien civilizations, and survived attacks that had destroyed entire fleets. Yet, even he could not fully grasp the scale of the palace or the beings that awaited him within its walls. When the ship docked, the airlock hissed open, and Elias stepped onto the landing platform. His eyes widened briefly as he took in the size and grandeur of the palace, but he quickly composed himself. Humans had learned to adapt to overwhelming environments. Calm and confident, he walked forward, his boots echoing against the polished metal of the corridor. The throne room was immense, far larger than any human structure he had ever seen. Towers of crystal reflected the light of distant stars, casting strange, colorful patterns across the floor. The queen sat at the center, her presence impossible to ignore. "Captain Elias Wren," the queen said, her voice carrying through the room like a ripple of silver light. "You have been brought here because of your reputation. The Guardian has warned me of your kind, yet I am intrigued. Speak. Why should I consider a human as my guardian?" Elias took a careful step forward. "My queen, I am no stronger than any other being in this galaxy, and I may not have the advanced abilities of your traditional candidates. But I have something else, something no one can train, no one can replicate. I learn, I adapt. I take risks when others would hesitate. I act when hesitation would lead to failure." The queen's eyes glimmered. "And you believe that is enough? It is enough to survive, it is enough to protect, and it is enough to make decisions that others might not dare to make," Elias replied without hesitation. Vaer, standing silently behind the queen, shifted uneasily. He had watched many beings claim courage and wisdom, only to falter when tested. Humans were clever, yes, but reckless. And now one was standing before the queen, claiming a role that no human had any right to claim. The queen rose slowly, her movements graceful yet commanding. She circled Elias, observing him closely. "I have seen many beings in my life. I have observed strength that could shatter planets, intelligence that could manipulate entire star systems, and loyalty that transcends centuries. Yet, you hold something different, something I cannot measure by power or skill alone." Elias met her gaze, unflinching. "I do what I must, my queen. My duty is to act, not to boast." The queen stopped in front of him, her eyes scanning him in a way that made even Vaer uneasy. She reached out, a delicate hand hovering near his chest without touching. "Do you understand the responsibilities of a guardian?" she asked softly. "I understand that failure is not an option," Elias said. "I understand that my life may belong to you entirely, and I understand that I must put your safety and the Empire above all else, even myself." The queen's lips curved slightly. "Bold words," she said. "Yet words alone are meaningless. Actions are what matter." She turned to Vaer. "Prepare the trial. Let him prove himself. Let us see if this human can face challenges no other candidate could endure." Vaer's eyes widened in surprise. "A trial, my queen? You would risk your guardian's life with a human who may fail." The queen's gaze was steady, unwavering. "I do not fear failure, I fear stagnation. If we continue choosing guardians based solely on strength and perfection, we may lose the one quality that can save us when all else fails: adaptability. Humans possess it in abundance, Guardian. Let us see if this one can survive the trial." The trial was set in motion quickly. Elias was given a holographic projection of the galactic map, with highlighted regions under threat from a rogue faction. The task was simple in theory: assess the threat, make strategic decisions, and prevent any harm to the Queen's territories. In reality, it was nearly impossible. The rogue faction had advanced technology, unpredictable tactics, and alliances with species the Queen had not encountered before. Elias studied the projection, his mind moving rapidly. He analyzed patterns, predicted possible moves, and created contingency plans. Unlike the alien candidates, who relied on sheer calculation and training, Elias relied on intuition, experience, and creativity. Where others would see impossibility, he saw options, paths that could lead to success through unconventional means. Vaer watched silently, skeptical. "He is clever," the Guardian muttered. "But cleverness is not enough. A human cannot withstand the pressures, the threats, the weight of protecting the Queen herself." The Queen smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. "We shall see," she said. Her eyes returned to Elias, watching him work. Every decision, every calculation, every choice revealed something new. He was not perfect. He made mistakes, but he corrected them, adapted, and moved forward. Hours passed, and the trial continued. Elias faced simulated attacks, moral dilemmas, and strategic puzzles that no alien candidate had ever survived. Each time he stumbled, he learned. Each time he faltered, he adapted. And each time the Queen observed, intrigued, and quietly impressed. By the end of the trial, the Queen knew something remarkable. This human, fragile by alien standards, had survived challenges that would have destroyed others. He had acted with courage, intelligence, and most importantly, intuition. She turned to Vaer, who now watched with a mixture of respect and disbelief. "Do you see now, Guardian?" she asked softly. "Perhaps it is not strength alone that makes a guardian worthy. Perhaps it is the ability to face the unknown, to act when certainty fails, and to endure when logic would abandon hope." Veyer bowed his head slowly, understanding dawning. He has qualities that none of our candidates possess. Unpredictable, yes, but effective." The Queen's gaze returned to Elias, who stood quietly, unaware of the significance of his performance. She nodded slightly, almost imperceptibly. "Yes," she whispered. "Perhaps the time has come for something different. Perhaps it is time to consider a human." And in that moment, the alien queen's curiosity shifted to something more profound, an interest that would change the course of her empire, and perhaps the galaxy itself. The air in the throne room was thick with anticipation as Captain Elias Wren waited. He had completed the first trial, surviving the simulations and demonstrating skills that had surprised even the Queen's ancient guardian, Veyer. But he sensed that the true challenge was only beginning. The Queen's eyes, like pools of silver light, studied him as he stood straight, his hands relaxed at his sides, his expression calm yet alert. "You have completed the first trial, human," she said softly. "But surviving simulations is not the same as surviving reality. I wish to test your abilities in a situation where lives are at stake. Can you accept this?" Elias nodded immediately. "I will do whatever is necessary, my queen." Veyer shifted behind the throne, his massive frame tense. "This is not a suggestion," he said in a low rumble. "Even a single mistake could endanger the queen herself. A human cannot be trusted with this responsibility." The queen's gaze moved to Veyer, calm but firm. "Guardian, your task is to observe, not to doubt. Humans may not follow our logic, but they may act in ways we cannot predict. That is the point." Elias felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with unease. He had faced hostile species, environmental hazards, and alien politics before, but nothing compared to the weight of the Queen's expectation. She required not only skill, but courage, intelligence, and judgment under conditions that could change without warning. Without another word, the Queen gestured, and a large holographic screen appeared before Elias. It displayed a series of planetary systems, each marked with symbols of conflict, danger, or uncertainty. The rogue faction that threatened the Queen's empire had been growing bolder, attacking colonies, manipulating trade routes, and forming alliances with species long considered neutral or loyal. "Your task," the Queen said, her voice echoing in the vast hall, "is to neutralize the rogue faction's threat before it destabilizes these systems. You will have access to information, strategy tools, and support from those willing to follow your decisions. But the challenge is unpredictable. You may encounter alliances, betrayals, or actions that defy expectation. You must act quickly, wisely, and decisively." Elias studied the map carefully, noting the faction's movements, patterns, and weak points. Unlike the alien candidates he had heard about, he did not rely on raw power or overwhelming force. Instead, he thought in terms of strategy and psychology, predicting how the faction might respond to various actions. Veyer's eyes narrowed. "This is reckless," he muttered. "No human could account for all possibilities. They lack the training, the discipline, the long memory of galactic politics. One wrong move and the Queen could be endangered." The Queen's lips curved slightly. "Perhaps, but one right move may change everything. Watch closely, Guardian." Elias began his plan by contacting local planetary governors, forming alliances where trust could be established. He negotiated, explained the threat, and appealed to logic and mutual benefit. Some governors were hesitant, unwilling to risk confrontation with the rogue faction, but Elias' confidence and calm reasoning persuaded them. He then identified key nodes in the faction's network, communication hubs, supply chains, and command centers. Instead of attacking directly, Elias orchestrated small disruptions, cutting off supplies, misdirecting communications, and creating confusion. The faction responded violently at first, but each response was anticipated and countered. Veyer observed silently, disbelief growing with every decision Elias made. "This human's approach, it is unconventional. It is working," he admitted under his breath. "No candidate I have seen would attempt this. It is too slow, too indirect, too risky." But the Queen watched with growing admiration. She could see the human adapting, reacting, and predicting with a skill that was almost alien in itself. He made mistakes, small ones, but each time he adjusted, learned, and moved forward. Hours passed, and Elias continued his campaign. The rogue faction began to falter, their carefully planned attacks unraveling under his guidance. Yet just as success seemed near, a new complication arose. A neutral alien species, previously uninvolved, entered the conflict, siding unexpectedly with the rogue faction. Their ships were advanced, their tactics unpredictable. Elias paused, analyzing the new variables. Many would have panicked, but he focused calmly, searching for opportunities in the chaos. He noticed that the neutral species relied heavily on automated systems that could be disrupted without direct confrontation. Using careful sabotage, he disabled several key ships without risking lives, turning the tide of battle. Veyer's skepticism began to shift into awe. Unpredictable, yes, but effective, even more effective than our best-trained candidates, he muttered. The Queen observed, her mind calculating but her heart intrigued. She had seen the human face impossible odds and adapt in ways that no alien could. She realized that Elias' greatest strength was not his power, but his resilience and ability to think differently. Finally, the rogue faction was cornered. Instead of destroying them outright, Elias proposed a negotiation, offering terms that preserved life while ensuring peace. The faction's leaders were suspicious, but Elias' combination of logic, empathy, and firmness persuaded them to accept. The Queen's eyes glimmered. She had not expected diplomacy from a human in a situation so volatile. Veyer's expression was one of cautious respect. "Perhaps humans possess qualities we have overlooked for too long," he said softly. Elias, exhausted but composed, turned to the Queen. "The threat is neutralized, my Queen. No lives lost unnecessarily, and the Empire remains secure." The Queen smiled faintly, her silver eyes reflecting light from the gas giant below. "Remarkable," she said. "You have acted where others might have hesitated. You have adapted where others might have failed. You have shown qualities that no alien candidate has demonstrated in centuries." Veyer stepped forward, bowing deeply. "It is impressive, my Queen. The human has proven capable, yet it remains to be seen if they can endure the next challenge. Physical confrontation, strategy, and diplomacy are one thing, but guardianship requires constant vigilance, sacrifice, and understanding of the unknown." The Queen's gaze returned to Elias. "I am aware, Guardian. That is why the next trial will be more personal." Days passed as Elias remained in the palace, preparing for the next stage of the Queen's evaluation. During this time, he observed the Empire, its technologies, and its customs. Unlike most candidates, he did not rely solely on instruction. He explored, asked questions, and learned through experience. The Queen watched him quietly, curious about the human's thought processes. She noted how he interacted with the palace staff, alien diplomats, and even Veyer. He was neither arrogant nor timid. He treated each being with respect but did not allow himself to be intimidated. One afternoon, the Queen summoned Elias to a private chamber, separate from the throne room. The room was circular, filled with soft light and decorated with intricate alien patterns. At the center was a holographic projection of the galaxy, constantly shifting and updating. "Captain Wren," the Queen said, her voice calm but commanding, "you have impressed me with your actions in the first trial, but now I must see how you respond when the stakes are closer to home. A guardian must understand loyalty, sacrifice, and the consequences of choices that affect lives directly. Are you prepared?" Elias nodded. "I am, my Queen. I understand that guardianship is not merely about skill, but about responsibility." "Good," she said. "You will accompany me on a journey to a system currently under threat. You will witness firsthand the complexities of leadership, diplomacy, and the moral challenges that come with protecting an empire. Observe carefully and act when necessary. Your decisions will reflect not only your abilities but your character." The journey took them through uncharted space, past nebulae of brilliant color, and around asteroid fields that glimmered like jewels. Elias marveled at the scale of the universe and the advanced technologies of the Empire, but he never lost focus on the Queen's instructions. When they arrived in the threatened system, Elias saw the results of conflict. Cities damaged, populations displaced, and leaders struggling to maintain order. He realized that this trial was not about combat or strategy alone. It was about understanding the human cost of choices, the importance of empathy, and the weight of responsibility. He advised local leaders, coordinated relief efforts, and even personally intervened in disputes that could have escalated into violence. The Queen observed silently, noting his ability to balance action with consideration, intelligence with empathy. Veyer, who had accompanied them reluctantly, remained skeptical but began to recognize the human's unique capabilities. "He does not act like one of us," Veyer muttered. "He thinks differently, but his choices, they are effective." Perhaps this unpredictability is exactly what is needed. At the end of the journey, peace was restored to the system. Leaders expressed gratitude, citizens were safe, and the rogue faction's influence was diminished without unnecessary bloodshed. Elias had proven himself again, but more importantly, he had demonstrated moral courage, insight, and leadership. The Queen turned to him, her expression unreadable yet tinged with approval. "You have done well, Captain Wren. Your actions have shown wisdom, bravery, and compassion, but the path ahead will be more demanding. A guardian must endure challenges that test mind, body, and spirit. Do you understand this?" "I understand," Elias said firmly. "And I am ready, my Queen." The Queen's silver eyes glimmered with something almost like anticipation. She had observed humans before, dismissed them, underestimated them, but Elias Wren was different. He possessed qualities that no alien candidate could match. Courage, intelligence, intuition, and moral clarity. Veyer watched in silence, his centuries of experience telling him that the Queen's choice might indeed be unconventional. Yet he could not deny that the human before him had accomplished feats that few others could even imagine. And in that quiet moment, the first threads of a bond were forming between the Queen and her human candidate, a bond that would soon shape the fate of the Empire and the galaxy itself. The moment Elias Wren returned from the system under threat, he understood that the Queen's challenges were far from over. She summoned him once again to the throne room, her silver eyes focused, her posture regal yet calm. Veyer stood nearby, silent but tense, clearly anxious about the trial that was to come. "You have acted with wisdom and courage, Captain Wren," the Queen began. "But these were tests of skill and observation, not of loyalty and moral strength. The next trial will reveal whether you can endure when the stakes involve not only your life, but the lives of countless others." Elias nodded, his expression steady. He had learned to trust in his judgment, his instincts, and his adaptability. Yet he could feel the weight of the Queen's words pressing down on him. A guardian's duty was not simply to act, but to act rightly under pressure and with consequences that could shape the destiny of an empire. "The rogue faction you faced previously," the Queen continued, "is only one of many threads in the web of conflict that spans our galaxy. There are factions willing to manipulate, deceive, and betray to achieve power. You must now confront a more personal trial, a test of loyalty, strategy, and moral courage. Fail, and the consequences may be irreversible." Veyer's eyes narrowed. "This is highly dangerous, my Queen. The human may falter under pressure. They lack experience with extended threats and deception on this scale. A single mistake could lead to chaos, loss of life, and even the compromise of your safety." The Queen's gaze shifted to Veyer, calm but firm. "Perhaps. But it is necessary to test the human's resolve. Adaptability is meaningless without moral courage and loyalty." Elias listened carefully. The Queen's words carried weight far beyond a typical mission briefing. This trial was designed to challenge not just his skills but his character, his understanding of right and wrong, and his ability to make decisions under impossible pressure. Within hours, Elias was transported to a distant sector where unrest simmered. Several planets were on the brink of civil war, manipulated by hidden agents of the rogue faction. Leaders had been deceived into believing that neighboring worlds were plotting attacks, creating tension and hostility. Elias quickly realized that the conflict could erupt into full-scale war if not handled with precision. His first task was to assess the situation. He visited each planet, observing the political climate, speaking with leaders, and listening to the citizens. He noted the fears, misunderstandings, and hidden manipulations. While other candidates might have relied solely on intelligence reports or overwhelming force, Elias relied on personal observation, empathy, and reasoning. On the planet Kurith, he encountered the first critical dilemma. A military leader, convinced that a neighboring colony was planning an invasion, was ready to launch an attack. Civilian populations would inevitably be caught in the crossfire. Elias had to act quickly to prevent bloodshed while maintaining trust. He approached the leader with caution, speaking calmly and confidently. "I understand your concerns," he said, "but the evidence you have may not reflect reality. There are forces working to mislead you. If you act now, lives will be lost unnecessarily. Allow me to investigate further, and we can find a solution that preserves your people and ensures your safety." The leader hesitated, visibly torn. Elias could sense the tension, the fear, and the pride that drove the man toward rash action. Using careful reasoning, he explained alternative strategies, presenting intelligence gathered from multiple sources, and appealing to the leader's sense of responsibility. Gradually, the leader agreed to delay action, trusting Elias' judgment. Weyer observed from a distance, his skepticism gradually turning into astonishment. "The human appeals to reason, and it works," he murmured. "No alien candidate would attempt diplomacy before using force. This is unusual, yet effective." The next challenge arose when Elias encountered a group of citizens who had been manipulated by rogue faction agents into believing that the Queen herself would not protect them. They were ready to revolt, armed and desperate. Elias had to act quickly to prevent chaos. He addressed the crowd, his voice steady and authoritative. "I am here to help," he said. "Your concerns are real and your fears are valid, but the actions you are about to take will harm yourselves and others. There is a path forward that ensures your safety and protects your homes. Trust me to guide you." At first, the citizens were resistant, shouting and demanding immediate action, but Elias did not falter. He spoke calmly, presented evidence of the rogue faction's manipulation, and offered practical solutions that addressed both safety and justice. Slowly, the crowd began to listen. By the end of the day, what could have erupted into violence had been peacefully resolved. The Queen watched from her observation chamber, her expression thoughtful. Elias' approach was unlike anything she had ever seen. Alien candidates often relied on intimidation, strategy, or sheer force. Elias relied on reasoning, empathy, and adaptability, qualities that had repeatedly turned impossible situations into successes. As the days progressed, Elias faced increasingly complex scenarios. He uncovered plots designed to destabilize entire planetary alliances, navigated through treacherous political landscapes, and negotiated peace between rival factions. Each decision carried the weight of countless lives, and each required careful judgment, courage, and integrity. One night, Elias discovered a secret plan by the rogue faction to sabotage a critical energy station, which would have caused widespread devastation. He had only hours to prevent the catastrophe. With limited resources, he devised a daring strategy: infiltrate the facility, neutralize the threat, and evacuate civilians, all without detection. The operation was tense and dangerous. Elias moved with precision, relying on his instincts and knowledge of human tactics. He encountered guards, automated defenses, and traps, yet he adapted to each obstacle, improvising solutions under immense pressure. By the time the Queen's observation monitors recorded the mission's conclusion, Elias had succeeded flawlessly. Weyer, watching in disbelief, finally spoke aloud. "No alien I have trained could accomplish this with such efficiency and minimal risk. This human, he is extraordinary." The Queen, observing silently, allowed herself a rare smile. She had seen many beings claim courage, skill, and intelligence. Elias had shown all three, but more importantly, he had demonstrated the ability to act morally and wisely when faced with impossible choices. The final test of the trial came when Elias encountered a rogue faction leader who had taken hostages from multiple planets. The leader threatened to execute them if Elias did not surrender and abandon his mission. Every alien candidate would have relied on force or technology to overpower the adversary, risking lives in the process. Elias, however, approached the situation differently. He communicated directly with the rogue leader, appealing to logic, self-interest, and the consequences of further escalation. At the same time, he coordinated a discreet rescue operation, ensuring the safety of the hostages without exposing them to unnecessary danger. The tension was unbearable, the outcome uncertain, yet Elias remained calm and focused. Through careful negotiation, strategic planning, and precise action, he successfully secured the release of the hostages while neutralizing the rogue leader's immediate threat. His combination of intellect, empathy, and courage had turned what seemed like a hopeless situation into a success. The Queen's silver eyes shone with quiet admiration. She had witnessed the human navigate impossible moral and strategic challenges, acting decisively and with integrity. Veyr, who had served the Queen for centuries, could not deny the truth. Elias Wren possessed qualities that no alien candidate had demonstrated in generations. When the trial concluded, Elias returned to the palace, weary but composed. He had faced deception, violence, and moral dilemmas on a scale he had never imagined. Yet he had emerged successful, not through raw power or advanced abilities, but through resilience, adaptability, and a strong moral compass. The Queen awaited him in the throne room, her expression calm, yet her presence filled the room with authority and quiet excitement. "You have completed the trial, Captain Wren," she said softly. "You have faced challenges that would have broken others, and yet you have prevailed. You have demonstrated loyalty, courage, and wisdom. But more importantly, you have acted with integrity, making choices that protect life and maintain justice." Veyr, who had watched silently, spoke for the first time with genuine respect. "My Queen, this human has qualities we have overlooked for too long. Unpredictable, yes, but effective beyond measure. Perhaps he is the guardian we have been seeking, though unconventional in every way." The Queen's gaze returned to Elias, her silver eyes gleaming. "Indeed, guardian," she said. "Unconventional, yes, but perhaps that is precisely what our empire needs. Captain Wren, your actions have revealed that strength alone is not enough. Wisdom, courage, empathy, and adaptability, these are qualities that define a true guardian, and in you I see them all." Elias bowed his head respectfully. "Thank you, my Queen. I am honored, and I will continue to serve to the best of my ability." The Queen studied him in silence for a long moment, then finally spoke. "This is only the beginning, Captain Wren. Greater challenges lie ahead, threats that will test every skill, every value, and every decision you have made thus far. But I believe you are capable, and I am curious to see how far a human can go." Veyr, now visibly relieved and impressed, stepped closer to the Queen. "I see now, my Queen. Perhaps it is time to accept what has been overlooked for centuries. Perhaps humans are not the fragile, unpredictable species we believed them to be. Captain Wren has proven that in the face of adversity, they can surpass even the most disciplined and powerful beings." Elias, standing quietly, felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. He had faced trials that would have crushed lesser beings, yet he had endured and succeeded. The Queen's words affirmed not only his capabilities, but the potential of humanity itself, a species often underestimated, yet capable of extraordinary courage and achievement. As the throne room settled into quiet, the first real bond between the Queen and her human candidate was solidifying. Elias had proven himself, not only as a strategist or a warrior, but as a being capable of moral courage, wisdom, and loyalty, the very qualities that defined a true guardian. And as the stars shone beyond the palace walls, a new chapter began, one that would challenge traditions, redefine expectations, and set the stage for a human to rise as a guardian of an empire unlike any other. The palace was unusually quiet that morning, with only the soft hum of the energy shields and the faint murmur of distant maintenance corridors filling the vast halls. The throne room, normally bustling with aides, scholars, and diplomats, was empty. The Queen sat on her throne, silver eyes fixed on the floor, her fingers lightly touching the crystal armrest. Veyr knelt nearby, his towering form rigid, tension radiating from his every movement. "My guardian," the Queen said quietly, her voice carrying a calm authority, "we have observed the human's actions for some time now. Captain Wren has faced trials that would challenge even the strongest of beings, and yet he has prevailed where others might have failed." Veyr's eyes narrowed, wary. "Yes, my Queen, I have observed him. His abilities are unusual. He adapts where others rely on strength or calculation. But he is human, fragile, unpredictable. We must not underestimate the risks." The Queen's gaze lifted, silver eyes meeting his. "You speak of risks, Guardian, yet you have served at my side for centuries without faltering. You are trained, disciplined, bound by loyalty and understanding, and yet you continue to question the human." Veyr bowed his head slightly. "I question only because his species is unknown to us, my Queen. Humans are volatile, often guided by emotion rather than logic. A guardian must not falter, must not act impulsively. A single misstep could endanger you and the Empire. The Queen leaned forward, her voice firm but gentle. And yet, Guardian, the human has shown insight, courage, and moral clarity beyond what many of our own candidates have demonstrated. He has faced impossible situations and made choices that have preserved life, ensured justice, and strengthened our empire. Is that not what we truly seek in a guardian? Veyer hesitated. The Queen's words struck at the core of his beliefs, challenging centuries of training and tradition. Perhaps, but his methods are unconventional. His species is unpredictable. That remains a concern. The Queen's eyes glimmered with quiet determination. Precisely. Unpredictable, adaptable, courageous. These are the qualities that may save us when all else fails. Captain Wren is not like the others, Guardian, and that is why he may be the one we need. Veyer remained silent, his mind torn between loyalty to tradition and recognition of the human's accomplishments. The Queen's words were compelling, yet centuries of expectation and training weighed heavily on him. You see, Veyer, the Queen continued, her voice softer now, I have never been satisfied with strength alone. Loyalty, skill, and power are important, but they are insufficient in a galaxy that is constantly changing. I require a guardian who can think differently, act decisively, and possess the moral courage to make choices that others might fear. Captain Wren has demonstrated all of these. Veyer's eyes narrowed, reflecting both doubt and growing respect. And you would choose a human, my Queen, over those who have trained their entire lives for this role. The Queen's gaze was unwavering. Yes, I choose not because he is the strongest or the oldest, but because he is capable. Because he adapts, learns, and acts with clarity of purpose. Because he has shown the qualities that define a true guardian, regardless of species. Veyer's silence lingered, heavy with contemplation. He had devoted centuries to the service of the Queen, trained candidates who excelled in strength, intelligence, and discipline, and had never questioned the traditional process, until now. The human before him had not only survived trials, but had exceeded expectations in ways he could not have predicted. Finally, Veyer spoke, his voice low but sincere. If it is your decision, my Queen, I will accept it. The human has demonstrated qualities that cannot be ignored. His actions have proven effectiveness beyond measure. Though unconventional, he may indeed be the guardian we have sought. The Queen nodded, her eyes reflecting satisfaction. Thank you, Guardian. Your acknowledgement is important, not for him, but for the balance of wisdom and tradition. Captain Wren has earned his place, but he must still understand the responsibilities he undertakes. Elsewhere in the palace, Elias Wren prepared for the next stage. Though he had faced trials that tested skill, judgment, and courage, he sensed that this stage would be different. The Queen had observed him closely, but now he would feel the weight of the choice about to be made. When summoned to the throne room, Elias felt a mixture of anticipation and focus. The room was empty except for the Queen and Veyer. The Queen's expression was calm, yet her eyes held a depth that Elias could not ignore. She studied him for a long moment before speaking. Captain Wren, she began, her voice steady, you have faced trials that test not only skill but wisdom and judgment. You have acted with courage, insight, and moral clarity. And yet the question remains, can you serve as my guardian, knowing the responsibilities, the sacrifices, and the challenges that lie ahead? Elias met her gaze without hesitation. I understand, my Queen. I know the risks, the duties, and the expectations. I am prepared to serve in any capacity you require. Veyer, standing silently, observed closely. He had watched humans operate in unpredictable ways before, but Elias' calm assurance and clarity of purpose were remarkable. For a being so physically fragile by alien standards, Elias exuded strength in ways that mattered most, intellectually, morally, and emotionally. The Queen studied Elias in silence, weighing centuries of tradition against the human's proven capabilities. Loyalty is not merely obedience, she said finally. It is the courage to act rightly, even when others doubt or oppose you. It is the ability to endure when the impossible threatens, and it is the wisdom to make choices that protect life and uphold justice. Do you possess these qualities, Captain Wren? I do, my Queen, Elias replied firmly. I have faced impossible choices, and I have acted with integrity. I will continue to do so as your guardian. The Queen's silver eyes glimmered with approval. She turned to Veyer, her tone soft but commanding. Do you understand now, Guardian? Strength and discipline are important, but they are not sufficient. The human has demonstrated qualities that no other candidate possesses. Veyer bowed his head. Yes, my queen, I understand. Captain Wren has shown courage, wisdom, and adaptability beyond measure. He has acted with loyalty and moral clarity, and he has proven himself capable of guardianship. I accept your decision. The queen nodded. Then it is settled. Captain Elias Wren, you shall serve as my guardian. Your actions have earned this position, not because of your species, but because of your abilities, your character, and your courage. Know that this role will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine, and that failure is not an option. Are you prepared to accept this responsibility? I am, my queen, Elias said without hesitation. I will serve to the best of my ability with loyalty, courage, and integrity. The queen rose from her throne, her movements graceful and deliberate. She extended her hand toward Elias, a gesture of recognition and trust. Then let this moment mark the beginning of a new chapter for you, for me, and for the Empire. Your guardianship begins now. Elias stepped forward, taking the queen's hand with respect and solemnity. In that moment, he felt the weight of responsibility settle upon him, but also a sense of purpose stronger than anything he had ever known. He had proven himself not only through trials of skill and strategy, but through moral courage, adaptability, and loyalty. Veyer observed quietly, his centuries of service allowing him to recognize the significance of the moment. Though he had once doubted the human, he now saw the potential that the queen had recognized from the start. Elias was unconventional, unpredictable, and human, but he possessed qualities that could redefine what it meant to serve as a guardian. The queen studied both of them, her gaze reflective. She had made a choice that defied tradition, yet she felt a quiet certainty. The human before her had earned his place, and she believed that his presence would strengthen the Empire in ways no one could have predicted. Captain Wren, she said softly, understand that your role is not simply to protect me. You must also guide, adapt, and confront challenges that will test every skill and every decision you have made. Your journey has only just begun, and greater trials await. But I believe you are capable, and I trust you to rise to the occasion. Elias bowed once more. I understand, my queen, and I will not fail. Veyer stepped forward, placing a hand on Elias' shoulder. Know that you are not alone, human. I will guide you in the ways of tradition, strategy, and guardianship. Your methods may be unconventional, but together we can ensure the safety of the queen and the Empire. Elias nodded, appreciating the alliance. Though Veyer's demeanor was stern and commanding, his support was invaluable. Together, human and alien, they would face challenges that neither could overcome alone. The queen returned to her throne, observing both her new guardian and the ancient one who had served her for centuries. A new era begins today, she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. One that will test tradition, challenge expectations, and reveal the true potential of a human as a guardian. As the room settled into a quiet that carried both anticipation and gravity, Elias felt a profound sense of purpose. He had earned his place not through species, strength, or reputation, but through action, courage, and moral clarity. And now, as the chosen guardian of the alien queen, he was ready to face the trials that would define not only his destiny but the fate of the Empire itself. Outside the palace, the galaxy continued its endless dance of stars, planets, and civilizations. Unseen threats moved in the shadows, but within the walls of the throne room, a human had risen to a place of trust, respect, and responsibility. The queen's silver eyes reflected the light of distant stars, her expression calm yet filled with anticipation. She had chosen wisely, or so she hoped, and the galaxy, vast and unpredictable, would soon bear witness to the impact of that choice. And for the first time in centuries, a guardian of the alien queen was not only powerful and disciplined, but unpredictable, courageous, and human. The palace was alive with activity, yet a quiet tension lingered in the air. Word had spread quickly that the queen had chosen a human as her guardian, a decision that defied centuries of tradition. Aliens of every species, from towering warriors to delicate scholars, whispered in corridors and council halls, debating the wisdom of this unprecedented choice. Some were skeptical, others curious, but all were aware that a new era had begun. Elias Wren stood in the central courtyard of the palace, observing the activity with careful attention. He had been formally recognized as the guardian of the alien queen, a title that carried immense responsibility and constant scrutiny. Every movement, every decision, and every action now had the potential to influence the stability of the empire. Yet Elias remained calm, confident in the skills and judgment that had earned him this position. Veyer approached, his massive form casting a long shadow across the courtyard. "Human," he said, his voice low and serious, "your role is not symbolic. You are now the protector of the Queen, the overseer of her safety, and the executor of decisions that affect entire star systems. You will face challenges that test not only skill and intelligence, but also judgment and loyalty. Are you ready for what comes next?" Elias met Veyer's gaze, unwavering. "I am Guardian, I understand the weight of responsibility, and I am prepared to act for the safety of the Queen and the Empire." Veyer studied him for a long moment, noting the calm determination in the human's eyes. "Very well. Then we begin the next stage." The first real test of Elias' guardianship came sooner than expected. Scouts reported a sudden surge of activity in the outer sectors. An unknown fleet of ships had entered the borders of the Empire. Their origin was unclear, their intent unknown, but preliminary reports indicated that they possessed advanced technology capable of overwhelming conventional defenses. The Queen convened her council immediately, Elias and Veyer standing at her side. Holographic projections of the incoming fleet appeared above the central table, ships colored red to indicate potential threat. "Reports indicate that this fleet is unlike anything we have encountered before," the Queen said, her voice calm but firm. "They are organized, fast, and potentially hostile. Captain Wren, this is your responsibility. Assess, strategize, and neutralize the threat before it escalates. Lives depend on your decisions." Elias studied the projections carefully, noting patterns in the fleet's movements. Unlike traditional alien tactics, these ships did not follow predictable formations. They were agile, coordinated, and used deception to mask their numbers and positions. Elias realized that brute force alone would be insufficient. He would need strategy, adaptability, and intuition. "Guardian Veyer," Elias said, "we will need accurate intelligence on these ships' capabilities and weaknesses. I want to know every potential advantage we can exploit." Veyer nodded, impressed by the human's clarity and focus. "I will gather the data immediately, but understand, human, there is no room for error. Even a minor miscalculation could result in catastrophe." Elias did not flinch. "Understood, but if we act wisely and decisively, we can neutralize this threat without unnecessary loss." Hours passed as Elias coordinated efforts across multiple planets and fleets. He analyzed enemy movements, predicted possible strategies, and formulated countermeasures. Unlike traditional candidates, who might rely on overwhelming force, Elias employed subtlety, intelligence, and calculated risks. He deployed small teams to intercept key ships, disrupted communications, and anticipated ambushes before they occurred. Veyer observed from the Queen's command chamber, his skepticism fading into respect. "No alien candidate could have managed this so efficiently," he muttered. "His methods are unconventional, yes, but effective beyond expectation." Meanwhile, the Queen watched silently, her expression calm yet filled with a quiet satisfaction. She had chosen this human for a reason, not merely for courage or strength, but for his adaptability, intuition, and moral clarity. Elias was demonstrating all of these qualities in real time, handling a threat that could have paralyzed even the most experienced alien leaders. The enemy fleet advanced, but Elias' strategies held. He anticipated their movements, countered their attacks, and protected civilian populations with precision. His ability to adapt to changing circumstances, make rapid decisions, and maintain moral responsibility under pressure was unlike anything the Queen had witnessed. The critical moment came when the enemy flagship approached, a vital energy station supplying multiple planets. Its destruction would cripple defenses and endanger millions of lives. Traditional tactics would have called for a direct assault, risking heavy casualties and potential failure. Elias, however, had a different plan. He coordinated a stealth operation, sending specialized teams to infiltrate the flagship and disable its core systems. At the same time, he directed defensive fleets to create diversions, ensuring minimal risk to civilians and allies. The operation required precise timing, perfect coordination, and trust in the abilities of others, a true test of leadership and judgment. Veyer watched in awe as the plan unfolded. Every step was executed flawlessly, every risk mitigated, and every decision validated by results. Ilya's combination of intelligence, adaptability, and moral courage had turned an almost impossible scenario into a decisive victory. When the flagship was finally neutralized and the energy station secured, the threat was eliminated. The fleet retreated, their plans foiled, and the Empire remained intact. Ilias had succeeded where conventional strategies would have failed, and without unnecessary loss of life. The Queen stood, her silver eyes shining with approval. "Captain Wren," she said, her voice calm but filled with recognition, "you have proven yourself not only in trials but in real conflict. You have demonstrated strategy, courage, and moral clarity under pressure. You have earned the trust and respect of not only myself but the Empire itself." Ilias bowed respectfully. "Thank you, my queen. I acted to protect life and ensure stability. That is my duty as your guardian." Veyer stepped forward, placing a hand on Ilia's shoulder. "You have exceeded even my expectations, human. Your approach is unorthodox, your methods unconventional, but your results are undeniable. The queen has chosen wisely." In the days following the victory, Ilias began to settle into his role more fully. He trained with Veyer, learning the traditional methods of guardianship, while simultaneously applying his own approach to problem-solving, strategy, and leadership. Together, human and alien became a formidable team, blending tradition and innovation in ways that had never been seen before. The Queen observed their interactions closely, occasionally stepping into training sessions to provide guidance or insight. She noted how Ilias learned quickly, adapted to alien technology and tactics, and applied his own experiences in ways that enhanced their effectiveness. His human perspective, once dismissed as a weakness, had proven to be a unique strength. Veyer, initially skeptical and protective of tradition, began to respect the human's instincts and judgment. He realized that strength and discipline alone were insufficient in a galaxy filled with unpredictable challenges. Ilias' adaptability, courage, and moral clarity brought a new dimension to guardianship, one that even centuries of alien training could not replicate. As the Empire adjusted to the presence of a human guardian, news of Ilias' victories and innovative strategies spread throughout the galaxy. Other species began to recognize the effectiveness of his methods, questioning their assumptions about humans. Skepticism gradually gave way to admiration, and in some cases, envy. The Queen, however, remained focused on the future. She knew that greater challenges awaited, threats that could not be predicted, crises that required not only skill and courage but judgment, intuition, and moral clarity. And she trusted that Ilias, her human guardian, was capable of facing them. One evening, the Queen summoned Ilias to the observation balcony, overlooking the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. The stars stretched endlessly across the horizon, distant systems twinkling like jewels. "You have done well, Captain Wren," the Queen said softly. "You have proven yourself in trials, in conflict, and in leadership. But remember, your journey has only just begun. Greater challenges lie ahead, and the decisions you make will shape the destiny of the Empire." Ilias nodded, gazing at the stars. "I understand, my queen. And I will continue to act with courage, wisdom, and loyalty. I will not fail you or the Empire." The Queen's silver eyes glimmered. "I have no doubt, Captain Wren. You have already shown qualities that few beings possess. Your presence as guardian represents a new era for this Empire, one where strength, wisdom, and moral clarity guide our path. You are human, yes, but in you, I see the potential of your entire species. You have proven that humanity is capable of greatness beyond imagination." Veyer stood silently behind them, his massive form a reminder of centuries of tradition. Yet even he acknowledged the truth. The human had proven himself in ways that no alien candidate ever could. As weeks turned into months, Ilias faced numerous challenges: political intrigue, alien rebellions, and unexpected crises across the Empire. Each situation tested his abilities, judgment, and moral compass, yet he consistently rose to the occasion. His human ingenuity and courage, combined with Veyer's experience and the Queen's guidance, created a balance that strengthened the Empire in unprecedented ways. The citizens, diplomats, and soldiers who once doubted a human's ability to serve as guardian gradually accepted Elia's. His successes, tempered by fairness and moral responsibility, inspired loyalty and respect across species. Even the most skeptical observers began to see the wisdom in the Queen's choice. And throughout it all, the Queen watched her human guardian with quiet pride. She had chosen not the strongest, the oldest, or the most disciplined candidate, but the one who could adapt, endure, and act rightly in the face of uncertainty. Elias Wren had proven that courage, intelligence, and moral clarity could transcend species, strength, and tradition. In the vastness of the galaxy, the alien queen had placed her trust in a human, and that trust had been justified. The Empire faced an uncertain future, filled with threats and challenges beyond imagination. Yet with Elias as guardian, the Queen had confidence that the galaxy's unpredictability could be met with courage, wisdom, and adaptability. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had a guardian who could not be predicted. And that unpredictability, combined with integrity and courage, was exactly what it needed to thrive. Elias stood on the observation balcony, looking out at the stars, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. He had earned his place not through species, strength, or tradition, but through action, courage, and unwavering moral clarity. The Queen's voice came softly from behind him. "Captain Wren, the galaxy is vast and unpredictable, but I trust you. Lead wisely, act with courage, and never forget the lives you protect. You are a guardian of this empire, and in you humanity has proven its worth." Elias nodded, his resolve stronger than ever. "I will serve my queen always." And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, a new era began, an era defined not by tradition alone, but by courage, wisdom, and the extraordinary potential of a human guardian.